I'm going to go ahead and hit start. We can BS for a second while everybody kind of filters in, and I send the tweet out. Then I'll start the music. Send the up there. Go. Painting radio right here, folks. This is best, really as good as it's ever going.
There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I got a nice long nap in today. Got
4
my Guinness
hours.
at 4, ready to go. Yeah.
Try to get this guy on to do a test stream for the Gospel of Comics gaming that I want to start next week, but no, he has to get some sleep. Anyway, with us today in the, as it's been dubbed, virtual studio is Thor Odinson. And go ahead and introduce yourself, and I have an interesting little story for you on that real quick.
Greetings, mortals of Midgard. Pleasure to be here with you again.
You may remember Thor from the Invictus stream that we did. He is also a very prolific backer of crowdfunded comics, and we definitely wanted to have him for the discussion that we wanted to have this evening. Nothing too serious, just maybe where we think the industry is going, what we like about some campaigns. I've explained it like 6 times on Twitter, so you've probably seen it. So, anyway, Ayrton and I were talking before you got on the call, and we were discussing that if anybody ever, did a webcomic out of our DMs, it would just be like us having a back and forth conversation. Yeah, Thor's coming on. Oh, good. It's just, the scheduling is a comic in and of itself, I think.
Well, thanks for the re-invite. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here. Like I said, you know more about this topic than I think anybody else that I talk to regularly on Twitter. Just because you backed so many projects.
Well, what I can speak to is from the perspective of the crack addict.
Okay.
The meth head.
All right, good. Now, it's always good to be dedicated.
There's dedication and there's addiction. But no, in my case, it's I've always been a big reader. I've always bought lots of books. If anybody who's seen a picture of my library can attest to that.
Well,
so books, comic books, whatever. And like I was mentioning before the show, was that one of the issues that I have. Well, not an issue, but one of the motivations I have is that we have these campaigns under a limited time, and I'm there thinking to myself, do I really want to be the guy who's hunting for it on eBay at 3 times the price 6 months later?
Right.
So. Well, yeah, and that's something that I mentioned earlier today, talking with someone in real life about it. It kind of seems like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that, right now, crowdfunded comics are just a very niche audience. You have a small following of people on Twitter, and not to undermine the movement, Comicsgate or Indie Comics or Team Comics or anything like that. But let's just talk in the realistic numbers here. How many people are there on the planet Earth? 8 billion now, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many of those people read comics?
Yeah.
You want to be generous and say 3 or 4 million? as a real generous number.
Yeah.
You know, it's a small group of people.
And of those, how many of them are familiar with the idea of crowdfunding comics?
I think a lot more are about to be, but let's not jump into that just yet.
Yeah.
What you were saying about the crowdfunded books. One thing that's come up this week, just to stay current, and I'll get it up on screen here. Alterna Comics just made a little candid post on my birthday, no doubt, or no less. So it was a little impromptu birthday gift of excitement. But Alterna Comics posted out, we'll just leave this right here, and has a picture of the Alterna distribution logo, and coming soon.
Well, it's about time. Diamond has needed competition for a long time.
That's the general consensus, I think, amongst fans. Anybody that knows how Diamond works, that doesn't just go to the store and buy comic books and not care about the process, like anybody that's looked into the process and understands what Diamond is, immediately identifies it as a monopoly. And I think everybody...
mafia, but...
Oh. They do send guys to your store occasionally. So...
See?
You know, I'm not intimidated by
comics and process.
Yeah, I'm not intimidated by these guys, but they are sent there, and they do look like they might be trying to be intimidating.
Well, I mean, it's like LARPing mafia, really.
But... Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but it seems like every time my local comic store orders some alternate comics, unlike every other comic that arrived there, the alternate ones are always messed up or smashed up in some way. That's why I order strictly online from now on. Yeah.
Well, I think that's not just a problem with Alterna. Usually, you can count on 3 or 4 books out of our weekly shipment being dinged up or even folded in some cases, like the cover's just folded over on itself. There's no quality control at Diamond, just like there's no editor at Marvel or DC right now.
There's plenty of titles, but no actual editors, no.
Right. And, you know, I'm not sure what Alterna distribution is going to amount to. Whether he plans on just starting with distributing Alterna books and books that might be under the printing partnership, or whether he plans to extend that to any indie creator who wants to use the services for distribution.
That'd be great.
But I see the potential for some of these crowdfunded books to be available to stores because of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that I think will be one of the way I see the whole crowdfunding thing. I see it as a positive, a strong first step, but that can't be the sum total of it. You know, there has to be the outlet option. There has to be the ability to go to a store and get the back issue.
Right.
You know?
And you know, whether it's sending out the trade that you crowdfunded or whether it's sending out individual issues of a breakdown of the trade in like 6-part stories.
Or like a variant trade, you know. Kind of like the crowdfunded one could be like the rare one, the autographed one, and then the one that gets sent out to the stores could be the like a variant cover, something like that.
Right. Or you know, it could be
split up into floppies.
You know, it could be the same product. I mean, it's really up to the creator at that point, and that's the beauty of a creator-owned product. I feel like a backer should be upfront about that, but I don't see a problem with it being done. Like the team-up variant, everybody knows that was the last chance grab at getting Cyberfrog. If Ethan Van Sciver came out in 6 months and said, "Hey guys, you got a signed copy of Cyberfrog team-up cover from me. It's going to be a first printing. Inside the cover of the second one, it's going to say second printing, but it's going to be the same cover and essentially the same product without the signature. It's going to sell for probably around the same in the store that you paid for it without shipping, because I have to let the public or the distributor make a little money on it, and I have to let the store make some money on it. So I can't reduce the price or raise the price that much, or nobody's going to buy it.
Mhm.
So, I can see that being a thing with like a team up variant, but I don't expect to see a Chromium one in the store for under $100.
Oh man, I remember the last time I saw Chromium comics were in the 90s. It was Exo Man of War #0.
Well, didn't they have, or was it just foil, or was it Chromium that they used to do those punch-out covers in, where they would do the embossed like gravestones and stuff, and then you would open it up, and it would be like a full-color drawing of that, but it would be the shiny artwork. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. That doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, those might have just been foiling because they weren't as mirrored as Chromium. I don't know that I've ever had a Chromium comic.
Yeah, so, I've got at least one. Exo Man of War #0. It was a Joe Quesada cover. Say what you will about Quesada, and I have a lot I can say about him, but not a lot of it good. but he's a solid artist. He's a solid artist. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, Mark Waid's a decent writer when he's not being a shithead.
Actually, right. I'm kind of iffy on that because I've started hearing stories about him working with writing partners, and it kind of makes you wonder how much of that really is him versus whoever he's working with.
How much is it ghost written and stuff like that? Like a lot of people give him credit for Kingdom Come, and I always say that that's Alex Ross's story.
Yeah, because he's uneven. I mean, you look at his stuff; it's kind of like this does not match that.
It's not like Stephen King's work, where you can always tell that it's King, even if it's bad. You can tell that it's King.
Well, here's a little bit of English major lore. You have William Shakespeare's established body of work. He's written X amount of plays, sonnets, etc. But scholars, while going through other plays at the time, realized he's written more. Because what he did at the time was he was kind of like a script doctor, where somebody would have their play, they'd ask, "Hey, Billy, can you punch this up for me?" And scholars realized that there are sections which Shakespeare wrote, not the entire play, but he wrote some parts of it. So right. I'm here thinking to myself, can we do the same with Mark Waid, but in reverse? Find out what actually is and what isn't. Be like, right. Okay, this limited series, maybe that's not Mark Waid specifically. Where is the real Mark Waid? I don't know. I'd be interested in finding out.
I just want one of the old Irredeemable T-shirts that says Mark Waid is evil.
I would love to show up at a con where he's at with a T-shirt that just says hashtag Mark Waid hates Asians.
You just got to get it styled in the old Irredeemable shirts, because those were marketed by him before he was, the laughing stock of CG.
Oh God.
I give him credit because of Irredeemable. There's no reason for me to think that he didn't write Irredeemable, and if you show me that there's reason for me to think that he didn't, then I'll retract that. But I've never had reason to think that he didn't write it. He gets full credit for it. He did press tours for it. It's indie.
Yeah.
And I like it. So
I've never read it, but I will say that I am willing to give it a shot after he loses the lawsuit. Because I know once he loses it, a portion of the money he gets from that is going to your boy Zach. So.
Oh no, you just have to buy it secondhand. There's plenty of copies out there on Amazon and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just buy it from somebody that won't have to send him any money.
That's true.
Just get a pre-owned copy, man. Or get it digitally, even.
Got it.
Getting it digitally just sends money to the publisher. I don't think it sends it to the creator. I think you can even read the first volume of it for free on some like Comixology. Do you have Comixology Unlimited?
Yeah, I do. What I do is sometimes, especially with the Marvel comics, because they come with a free download, and I can't touch these covers because the ink rubs off of my fingers. So I download it to my iPad, and I
Right.
read them all there.
Yep. That's pretty much what you have to do. I don't even bother anymore. I don't even buy them. But
And I prefer having the physical copy, but at the same time, it's kind of like I can't touch this. I like to keep the ink off my fingers.
yeah, no joke. What do you think this alternate distribution could mean, though? Do you think that it's a step forward? Do you think that it's a good first step for the the indie comics movement kind of deal?
Well, I mean, definitely, you need the competition. I mean, Diamond, they don't have any reason to take a look at what they're doing, their practices, because they have no competition. There's nowhere else for anybody to go. If you want to get your comic books in stores, you got to go through Diamond.
Right.
But my hope is that Peter Samedi, he's a great guy, and what we need here is innovation.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping here that we see more than just Diamond 2.0. We see some actual innovation here, maybe moving things past strictly limiting to the comic book store.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I've even seen, what's going on, Ixel, in the chat? Novel Bro. See you in there, buddy. One thing that I've seen is Clint from Sweetcast has pointed out that, are we quiet? Is that what people are saying? Or is it...
No, the chat's quiet.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. I was just saying the chat was quiet.
One thing that Clint from Sweetcast, and I'm not going to pull up this video, it was like a 12-minute video. I will definitely see if I can find the link to it and put it in the chat. But Clint put out a video saying that there needs to be somebody paying for the promoted ads on Google of where to get started in indie crowdfunded books.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's another thing that would be a good first step. What I always kind of wanted to see come out of the indie comics revolution, what some people are calling Image Part 2, aka Comicsgate. What I always wanted to see come out of that is a sense of camaraderie in the people that emerged the most successful. And I'm not like calling anybody out saying, oh, you should be using the money you earned for this. No, by no means. Be a capitalist. Keep it in your pocket. But what I've always wanted to see, and some of them are doing it. Ethan Van Sciver in All Caps Comics. I've heard he wants to bring people with him on that.
Yeah. And Mitch Breitweiser.
What has he done?
He's used the money from Red Rooster to start his own comic book company.
Okay.
They're coming up with 4 titles, I think.
Okay.
Red Rooster, Nora's story, something with Bass Reeves, and there's another one there. I'm forgetting, but it looks very promising.
So basically, creating alternatives to the existing industry within the movement, within the community, I think is a great first step. Or series of first steps. I think that it needs to continue on, and I think that it needs to become a more cohesive community, working together, sending each other, customers from every angle. Hey, we get our books from here, and maybe alternate distribution one day gets a contract to distribute books, larger publishers, rather than just indie publishers or whatever. He might already have that in the works. We don't know.
Yeah.
But when we find out, I think it'll be interesting to see where this goes, because something that was told to me today by somebody you could kind of call a normie, that I gave the elevator pitch of what CG and crowdfunded books were. He said and he said something very poignant to the top, the idea that comics are basically on the chopping block right now. Medium as a essentially rides or dies in the crowdfunding movement right now. Because let's take a step back and unpack who owns Marvel and DC right now. You have Disney and AT&T own the two largest comic book publishers in the world. And last year, crowdfunded comics took 2% of their market share. By the end of 2009 or 2019, I expect that to be closer to 4%.
And let's also not forget that Joe Quesada was crowing about the numbers that comics, quote unquote, had made. But a large portion of that is manga. The book channel sales that they were bragging about. That's manga, man. That's My Hero Academia. You didn't build that, Joe.
No. And
somebody else made that happen.
I think that, when creators like Sean Murphy come over to crowdfunding books, I think when creators like Jonathan Hickman even comes over and starts crowdfunding books, even like when a Mark Waid or a Gail Simone come over and start crowdfunding books on Kickstarter just to oppose Comicsgate, I think more and more people, being exposed to these books, for the most part, you can expect that you have an unspoken bond with the creator that you're backing. They're not going to dox you. So even if you're on the anti-Comicsgate side for the public clout, how many of those people do you think have backed Cyberfrog?
Not many.
You don't think so? I bet it's a lot. I bet it's a lot more than you.
Spider-Man did, maybe.
Well, I think it's a lot more than would be willing to admit, is what I'm thinking.
Well, I'm of the belief that a lot of them don't actually buy comics.
Probably, but
that could be true.
if they do, and they've seen this book as much as they have, I would be willing to bet that Curiosity got it to at least 2 or 3% of them.
As possible. I think some of them have, but I remember that hold up a second. Yeah, sorry. I remember what was it, Renfamous saw a tweet I made and started a hashtag #read comics, and a bunch of them started spamming pictures, and you go through that. A lot of them had some very old comics, like very old.
Right.
Nothing recent. And a lot of pictures were repeated amongst people. Almost like they were their collections.
Oh, yeah. But just to get back on topic there, I think that the exposure of more people from the professional industry coming over to crowdfunding is going to make or break this format.
Absolutely. Like if Sean Gordon Murphy makes his own crowdfunded book and he succeeds, I think he can. I think he easily breaks six figures.
Absolutely.
Then, I mean, that he'll even be kicked open the door for every, not every creator, but every creator who does a good job and says to themselves, you know what, hey, I'm in this to make money, not for Twitter backpats.
Right. And I think that they'll see that more and more and more, because it's not like you're getting paid a page rate for Marvel and DC. Yeah. And you don't even have to look, and I've got the image pulled up on screen now, the one from your Twitter about the...
I got to update that.
Yeah, the top 20 books on Indiegogo. I do have 3 updated numbers. Cyberfrog is now at 881,460 instead of the 875.
Probably that last minute spurt because people heard it was ending.
Yeah. Earthworm Jim is $1,000 ahead of where it was, and Jawbreaker's God King jumped ahead about $2,000 since you made this list.
Yeah.
So that's just the top 5 I went through. Everything
I imagine Graveyard Shift has also jumped up a little bit.
Probably. Graveyard Shift. I think that College of the Dead might be on this list now, and knocked out Long Harbor.
Oh, okay. Let me check it out. Yeah, I've been meaning to That's another one that I've got my list of what I've backed and what I want to back. And
Yeah.
College of the Dead is the one of the ones I want to back. Haven't got there yet.
Yeah. We had Gilbert Deltrez on last night, and we talked about some of the stuff that we're going to get into a little bit later when we get into some of the things that we liked on campaigns and things we didn't. But one thing.
Now,
go ahead.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up real quick is, do you guys think that the way we buy comics as a whole is going to change? I mean, if you look at, the majority of people shopping nowadays is online, like Amazon, for the most part.
Yeah,
do you think that? Because I mean, really, buying Alternus comics straight from them is fantastic. You just you wait till the whole volume's out. You just buy like a nice big chunk, like $30 worth of comics from them is whatever
3 or
that
4 series,
whatever that would. Yeah,
probably 25 to 30 because also you order online, you can have a discount code.
Yeah,
right.
So I had a discount code a while back. I just knocked about 20% off.
Yeah,
and I ordered about 30 of them because 20% off is like it makes it $1.20 each.
Yeah,
I ordered about 30 different alternative comics. I've got a huge stack of them.
Yeah,
that's laying around here.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if, I mean, for me, the closest comic book store is like a 25-minute drive away.
Yeah, 30-minute drive.
So, are we? I think there's a possibility of seeing a shift almost entirely online, especially with the crowdfunding stuff and like Alterna. If maybe like an online comic store, if you will, like
Indiegogo.
Well, but where you don't have to you could just buy the issues. You don't have to do the backing and wait. Where all of these creators, you could have Invictus in this online store and people could go and order it directly from them.
You're not waiting a year or 6 months or 3 months.
Right.
It's like you order it next couple days, you get it. Like I ordered some books from Amazon yesterday. I got free shipping, free 1-day shipping. I ordered them yesterday, got them today on a Sunday.
Nice.
So.
Which is, and that's insane. And I think that might be where we're headed. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, waiting for Grom and Monster MD and stuff. I'm excited for it. I know it takes time to put all this together, but if some of these books were already ready and printed and in an online space that you could go and order a bunch of them all at once, I think that really could be a more viable option than trying to get them in stores.
Well, I'll interject real quick, and then I want you to reply if you have anything, Thor. First, I want to split that into two different parts, because to me it seems like you're on one side talking about the idea of having a marketplace for books that have been through the crowdfunding process, and then on the other side you're bringing up the idea of having the material ready before the crowdfund starts. So I think that's a 2-part thing, and I think I want to get into the having the material ready side of that a little bit later when we're in that second part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of something I was throwing out there as a thought.
Right. So, Thor, if you've got anything on the idea of having the material available in a central location, maybe like an online comic store, or how do you think the way people are going to get comics are changing?
Well, I mean, I'm still and always will be a believer in spinner racks at supermarkets, whatever. But I mean, I do believe they could work. It's just a matter. Well, it's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But when we're talking about crowdfunded comics, I do think that an online store, another avenue of sale after the crowdfunding would be ideal. Because I mean, when you're starting off now, you're getting into it now. You're getting your first Graveyard Shift book, your first Lone Star, your first Cyberfrog. That's great, but what about the person who gets into these books 3 years from now?
Right.
How are they going to get caught up?
Well,
Is Ethan or Mike going to have to do another crowdfund for the fourth printing of these books, their first books? At some point, going back, retreading past books kind of becomes unrealistic.
Yeah.
So you have to have like that second printing, that third printing in some other venue, some other means to get at them, rather than just crowdfunding.
what if, and this is just an idea, and then I kind of want to comment on what the original question was. But what if there was maybe a printing service that kind of stepped up and did batches of like print on demand books? So say you did have it in a store, you may still have to wait a little while, but say they do a set of 10 or 15 books at a time, then a seller could make that much stock and fill up the website, and then when that ran out, they could just order another 15 to 30 and stock the site up again, kind of deal.
Yeah.
You would need a new printer at that point that would do almost like a quantity on demand print run for you. You couldn't have somebody that had huge contracts that would prevent you from getting your books printed, like Doug DeNaples' textbook company that he talks about.
Right.
So you're talking about having that entity have to come into play, I think, because it would almost be like an Amazon publisher. I don't think it's impossible. I think the way you do that is we've talked a lot about Alterna, and we seem like we're biased towards them, and to a degree, I think we are on this channel.
Yeah,
but,
I'll readily admit I'm biased in favor of Alterna.
But let's just throw the idea out there that these guys drew up a contract with Peter Simeti to have, let's call it 100 at a time. Let's go big and say we're stocking a store with these. If you don't sell them, you can come pick them up and take them to a con, or I'll ship them back to you and you can take them to a con, whatever. If they're not moving, we'll clear them out. We'll send them to you. You can take them to a con and sell them yourself. We won't even get our cut off of them. Whatever. Let's talk about maybe doing a newsprint style like trade or something for some of these books, or newsprint of these where people can get the story. They're just not getting the quality first print book. It kind of goes back to the same idea that we were talking about earlier.
And
so I do,
and really, Invictus on newsprint would look pretty badass from the artwork you've shown us.
Well, one of the artists, one of the images was drawn by Christian Rossi, who does a couple of alternative titles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did a Trespasser. He's doing Voidwalker, and he's also doing Mike Murphy's The Gods Fear Me.
Okay. But I just kind of want to point out that this is the second or third time that the availability of indie funded, like crowdfunded books is the number one concern that we brought up with. It is the end result of everything that we've talked about for the first half hour of the show. So I think that's kind of a bullet point to put up, and I think that we all three on some level agree that the exclusivity, let's call it, of the first printing of a crowdfunded book is a main problem with getting these books out there and growing this industry.
Yeah. Well, like, for example, Grom, that we both just backed, if he hadn't gone hard in his marketing before the release, we might not have seen it until like the campaign was almost over, and we might have missed it.
Right.
And that would have, that would have really sucked. And
right.
So there really does need to be some way after the book's funded.
Well,
whether it's like a small batch printer, whatever you want to call it,
right.
or something like that can just ease. I don't know if easily is the term, but I mean, just
Well, maybe
like
somebody
100
that
copies to be able to ship out.
well, maybe it's somebody you cut in to cover the printing cost of 100 copies at a time. You give them a wholesale cut of 100 copies, and you let them basically pay for them to be printed and shipped to them. Basically, a discount on 100 copies if they pay printing cost or whatever.
Mhm.
And then they get the
Yeah,
100
there's that.
copies and can sell them on this online port. Like, these are just ideas. Obviously, nothing set in stone. But as three people that are prominent in the community, well, not prominent necessarily. There's three people that are active in the backing community that back the books that we can and whatnot. As one person that's prominent in the backing community, we've all come to the idea that availability is something that needs to be addressed. We definitely need a constant flow of these books for new readers, because that's kind of what Comicsgate was about in the beginning, is that comic books have gotten away from the idea of capturing new readers in a inclusive way. They began excluding readers based on race and gender, and
Right.
the readers that they happened to exclude were the ones spending all the money.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, real quick, is also stop with the cover pricing books. Like, don't get into that. If you're going to do these small batch runs to sell to online stores or even shops, just sell it to them and let them mark it up how they want. I mean, that's how a lot of other small industries do. Like in the tobacco industry, I'd pay in a certain amount for like a box of cigars, and then based off of specific profit margin I want to make off of a single cigar, that's what I price them at. They don't have a preset price.
Right, but I think
and if I want to undercut my competition, I knock like $1 or $2 off. Or if I know I'm the only one with it, I'll add like another $1 or $2 onto it because I'm the only one who has it. Let kind of free up the market a little bit for like retailer pricing.
Well, I agree and I disagree, because again, you don't want another diamond situation where there's only one outlet for these books. If there are multiple outlets for these books, then yes, you can basically just print MSRP books or non-MSRP books and send them out, and people can put whatever price tag they want to on them. But if there's only one outlet for these books and only one guy has these deals, I do think that there should be some creative control over how much you're charging for some work. Because if somebody's giving you their book expecting you to sell it for $25-$30 and they're giving it to you for $20 and you put $100 price tag on it because you're the only shop in town that can get it, while that is capitalism, I think the creator should be able to tell you can't do that, if that makes sense, because it's still their product.
Yeah,
get what I'm saying? I don't want it to be abused.
I do, and yeah, I do. I guess normally I've dealt with companies telling me I can't sell stuff any less than a certain price, and I'm like, why? You already got your money. Let me sell it for whatever I want, right? Like, I already paid you for this product. Like,
right. I think that's a different issue.
Why do you care what I sell it for? Why do you care what I sell it for? And I mean, even if somebody were to market at $100, I don't. It probably wouldn't. Sell.
Ixel Pierce says that's in contracts, and he's very correct. That would be in the contract of the printing agreement. So I don't think that's anything we need to worry about right now.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is just put like a cap. Like, you can't sell it any more than X. So you have from cost to X that you can sell it at.
Yeah, you can't sell it for any more than X unless you pay me X more. Maybe that's the rule. But again, that's all in contract.
Yeah.
Let's kind of move on from that, because that gets into capitalism, and I don't think that's what this is about. Crowdfunding is all about capitalism. I don't think that there should be a monopoly, because monopolies break capitalism. See where I'm going?
Yeah. No, I see that. But if it's the creator is the one kind of like sending them out to stores and like online retailers and stuff, that can all be done, on the back end. If the creator wants to have a price cap, or if not, let him try and sell it for $200.
Yeah, you can already fleece your customers by just backing the crowdfund and just sitting on the books for a year and then putting them on your shelf for like $200-$300.
True.
But anyway, now I kind of wanted to transition into the next part of the discussion. To answer your original question, though, which I never got around to doing, I don't think that this is going to change the market any more than it already has, because I think the market has already changed based on the fact that people don't buy comic stores. I mean, some do, absolutely. Mm-hmm. There are some comic sales out there, but the numbers drop every year, and they just keep dropping. Their new customers aren't buying comic stores. However, the people that want these books are the people that paid for it. The list is currently up on the screen, and that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this discussion, is that the model of getting books into people's hands has already changed. It changed with the first crowdfunded comic book.
Right.
Nobody that didn't want Cyberfrog Blood Honey backed it. Nobody that doesn't want Earthworm Jim Launch the Cow backed it. Same thing with every book on this list. All of this money was willingly given to these creators for their content by someone who wanted to buy it, not by someone who was hoping to sell it. At least in the main.
There's no middleman in between spending money on this in the hopes that it'll sell, and then getting stuck with something he doesn't want.
Right. To go back to the distribution methods, I think that somebody has said that returns might be a thing with alternate distribution, and that would be interesting to see how that works.
Mm.
Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't be hard. The best way to do it, so like they wouldn't lose money, is do it as an exchange. Like they return, like say 20 issues, and then on their next shipment, like the cost of those 20 issues just gets knocked off. And
yeah, right.
22 issues would be the best way to do it, I would think. But
as long as there weren't any damages, and like I said, that'll all be worked out. But
right.
The thing that I wanted to talk about at this point is things that we have seen in campaigns that we liked, things that we didn't like so much, maybe things we think can be done differently. This is kind of an open thing, so if anybody has any that glaringly stand out, or if you need a minute to think on it, I have one that we can kind of rehash that we've talked about already.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sure we'll...
Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll stumble around other topics. That's how this show goes.
Absolutely. And I'm the one drinking, folks. But the first thing that I want to say... Okay, that doesn't count.
Well, I only had one.
My 2-year-old's running around like a crazy person in between her and my bedroom. It's just pretty awesome. Alright, but we've already kind of touched on this in this show. Galactic Rodent Mayhem. They did a long campaign, like pre-sale almost, where they got people to sign up for the mailing list. They offered first handful of backers got discounts on stuff. Albeit the links were messed up at first, but they got it sorted out pretty quick. I just wasn't going to refund and reback because that number one backer status.
Right.
But that's one thing that I really appreciated about that campaign is it gave me time to plan to back it. I knew it was coming. It was all over social media. Other people had been sharing it around. There was a theme song created. There was a pitch, like a 3-page pitch for this story already up and around. So it looked really good, and it was something that I was already interested in before it even went live. And I think that gave it a hand up over anything that I'm just finding out about while it's already active.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one thing that I like, and I think that maybe more people should consider doing with their project is go ahead and get people excited about it, get people signed up for it, let them have time to make sure that they have the money set aside or ready to put towards that, so you don't get to the end of your campaign and you're not fully funded and you can't even go into end demand.
Yeah, and we're not saying everybody needs a theme song,
right?
But more people at least should have them. But not everybody needs one.
It might not hurt, is what we're saying. I mean,
unfortunately, I'm a terrible songwriter. Otherwise, Invictus would have a theme song.
Well, I'm a musician and composer, right?
Really?
We'll talk. We'll talk later.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, that's the intro music is all him. Yeah, the voice acting is somebody else, but all the guitar work is him. He's actually supposed to be writing some different music that we can put that voice acting towards, and doing it, but very slowly.
Yeah, I got someone helping me on trying to get that audio track into my editing software because I'm having trouble downloading it. So I talked to him today. He's like, "Yeah, send me the stuff. I'll figure it out for you." Sweet.
But
anyways,
that's one thing that I really like about that campaign, and I really want to see more of. I want to see people like generating a buzz for something and gauging the interaction before they go live with it. Because again, like we said at the beginning of the show, we're going to pretend like Comicsgate Live doesn't happen because not everybody can get on there, and it's not Ethan Van Sciver or any other creator's job to push your project.
Yeah.
If they do, then you should be very grateful. But you shouldn't expect it to back your project. Being on their show should not entitle you to having a project backed either. So, if you guys, I don't know if you've thought of anything that you wanted to bring up.
What you just said right now is basically my idea of approaching Invictus. Is I want to have that long lead up.
Right.
I want to build that interest before I even get close to putting up an Indiegogo page.
Well, you've been on this show. You've shown art. That's kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on, is because you're planning a crowdfunding campaign. You had any ideas that you were planning on that you thought were different or were a better approach to something that you were tackling? I wanted you to be able to kind of give that insight as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem project. It looks pretty interesting. I'm just here scrolling back and forth on it, and I'm going to have to listen to the theme song later.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's catchy as hell. Every time you say Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, you'll sing it in your head.
You will.
But it's one of those things that I have been looking at these different campaigns that I've been backing, and kind of taking ideas here and there. One idea I had, it's one of the artists showed you guys last time.
Yeah.
He had his original. He sold some art to somebody else who did another project,
right?
And that person put the original art as a perk.
Right.
And sold it for $1,000.
Okay.
I thought was a pretty impressive. I don't remember the project name off the top of my head, unfortunately, but it was a pretty small project, and yet I mean, these kind of things where it's like you want to have that opportunity for people who are willing to spend more money to give them something for that,
right?
Versus just the book.
Yeah. And that is one thing that I'm kind of mixed on. Ayrton, before I go into it again, did you have anything you mention as maybe something that you like or don't like about certain crowdfunded?
Well, I just want to expand on Thor's point real quick. Like some of the projects that we've backed and looked at, like those extra little perks, like I couldn't really justify like getting the bigger Grom package with like the hat and the T-shirt with the logo and all that stuff. But that stuff is cool. Like if I would have had the extra money, I probably would have done it.
Right.
And I totally agree with you. Like, not you need more than just the book. Like those extra fun little stuff, like
trading cards.
Yeah, Flying
Original
Fortress.
art.
They have Flying Fortress has like jacket patches.
Yeah, I
And
would love to have
pinups.
trading cards.
Yeah, like, you know, cool little stuff that kind of goes hand in hand. Like, not necessarily just a T-shirt, but like the patches with Flying Fortress. You know, that's cool. Kind of goes along with the theme of the story. You know, like that kind of stuff it's cool. Like if people like that stuff, you know, having those little like limited things that you can get, I think, are a really good touch. And if you can get away with selling an original piece of artwork for $1,000, go for it.
Right.
But I'm actually
it up
kind of building inadvertently building a comic skater trading card collection. Because it's just sort of worked out that way. I've got my Graveyard Shift trading card, my Bigfoot Build trading cards. I've got a couple other campaigns. I'm not sure where. I think Trump Space Force, a couple others. So see if I can get a binder and just stick the trading cards in there. Kind of like those used to have my baseball cards when I was a kid.
Don't get a binder. Get some of the snap sleeves.
Yeah, the sleeve. Yeah.
Like the snap sleeves are like hard cases that have magnetic snaps on them instead of screws like the old ones.
Oh.
And you can get those and put them in a box so that you don't put light damage. Binders, no matter how acidic proof the sleeve is, it'll light damage and it'll stick to your card if it accidentally gets humid because your air conditioning or your heat goes out. The ink will start to stick to your sleeve. I mean, I've seen some trading card disasters in my day. I'm a veteran of that. You definitely want to have them in like a closed off box that very little air gets to, and in those snap cases for the best protection.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's just me and my obsessiveness.
I'll check it out.
But no, to kind of extrapolate on that, I do like those extra perks, and I like the idea that it kind of leads into some new campaigns if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Ethan Van Sciver and Doug DeNapoli have both talked about doing trading card projects individually. And I think Peter Samedi even teased at it one time when he was making a commentary on variant covers. He was like, I remember when variant covers came in small slips of cardboard and you could buy a pack of like 15 of them. They were just trading cards is what he was talking about. I would love some alternate trading cards. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and putting sketch cards in there, which are, you know, pieces of individual art. I mean, I bought a Peter Samedi sketch card. But just when it comes down to it, I think those little extra add-ons and perks, I think they really add a lot of flair. I don't like when a campaign only has like 1 book, 2 book, 10 books.
4 books.
You know, and that's just a personal thing. Now, moving on to that same point, we have the discussion that we were talking about earlier. I think Ayrton brought it up that, you know, he would like the ability to buy something have a concrete idea of when he was going to get it. And I think the best person to kind of shout out here, the guy that's doing Tales from Nerosville, the guy from Knuckle Slipper Studios. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or not, but he's doing 3 newsprint comics, and I think it's one of the best values on Indiegogo right now. It's 320-something. Tales of Nerosville. I can bring it up on screen. I don't know if you're watching the show or not, but I've got the I've got this Indiegogo thing pulled up that I can actually show people what we're talking about. I'll be a bad host. Some of the audience will be familiar with Tales of Nerosville because we talked about it on the show.
His setup is one that I do really like the way he's going about doing this. Basically, everything's ready for these first, 3 issues?
Yeah, the 3 issues that he's selling here are already ready, and he plans to use the funding made from this book to the next book's campaign, material.
And keep rolling it forward, as actual businesses do when they make their initial money, they put it into the next bit of whatever they're doing, and so on and so forth. He seems to actually be structuring it like building a business versus just doing it to release the one thing and be done. Which I really like the concept of it.
Yeah, that's the big downside of crowdfunding when you have a creator or a team who does their first book is how long that takes to come out.
Right.
There's some books I back that I'm still waiting on. It gets frustrating. You're still waiting on some books, and I'm not gonna name names. I know they're coming. I don't
Cyberfrog. And you got a
but I know they're coming.
There, church.
So, I do have a little itch in my throat.
But it's kind of like what you want to see is that time shrink with each successive project. Like we see with Zach now. He's got his God King project, and supposedly, September, October, it's going out.
Right, and that's huge. And the thing is not to bash on Ethan Van Sciver. I love the guy. He's funny, and I get that this is his first crowdfunded, full written book, and the book kept getting bigger on him as he made more and more money.
Yeah.
So
from 48 to 60 something, ended up at 80 with additional material.
Right. So the book kept getting bigger. He ran into some issues with the colorist. He probably ran into some issues with the printer. He had to get his cover printed elsewhere and get it attached at the book printer. It's a learning curve, and that's fair.
Right.
I do expect him to have a better handle on the next book.
Right.
Rainbow Brute. If Rainbow Brute is like that,
I was thinking he was going to be like.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've known he was slow since like 2004. When I'm buying a Green Lantern Rebirth and I show up the next month at the comic book store to pick up the next issue, and it's like, where the hell's Rebirth?
Right.
You go back the next month, it's still not there. So, and like the wait between each issue became progressively longer, but it was a worthwhile wait.
Right.
So that's why I'm not faulting him too much for that, because I know that at the end of the day, you're getting something awesome.
But I think, I think with Rainbow Brute, he'll have an idea of how long it's going to take him to draw it this time.
And also, it looks like Rainbow Brute will be a simpler art going into it, whereas a Cyberfrog is more hyper detailed.
Right.
I remember him posting that his progress on a one page where he's drawing a cityscape, and putting each line in the buildings.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we're going to see that sort of thing on Rainbow Brute, unfortunately.
Well, I think he's doing that intentionally because Kyle Ritter is such an amazing colorist.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to let Kyle Ritter flex on us with. But yeah, that's one thing that I think Ayrton and I both appreciate about this campaign, because yes, And I do apologize. I'm not great with names. I remember Knuckle Slipper Studios because that was his handle. Jason Meadows, Knuckle Slipper Studios, Tales of Nerosville. It's on the damn webpage. What am I doing? What is wrong with me? Jason
We're
Meadows.
professional.
But he's got these books printed, regardless of whether or not it hits the flexible goal. The books that are bought are going out, according to him. So that's one thing about it. Like there's a fear that your book's not going to come out and you're just going to tie up money for no amount of time and not get a book eventually and just get your money back because the book doesn't get funded. Yeah. So with this particular model of having the work done for the most part or completely the work done and just have to get the issues printed to fulfill whatever and put the excess money towards a new book. That's the optimal setup, I think, in my opinion, for a creator to get into. To always have a job or two in the hole.
Or close to done before you even start crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to get it rolling, kind of like a snowball going downhill,
right?
Where it just picks up more and more steam as it goes.
Right, and you can always have more than one job in the hole in case something takes a little longer, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to spend a little more time on this project, so I'm going to go ahead and step 2 out while I work on this one.
Yeah, I've got a similar thought long term, in that assuming like I'm feeling pretty confident. The first one will succeed.
Okay.
And my idea is that if it succeeds beyond expectations, if it succeeds exceptionally well, as a writer, I'll be able to hire more than one artist at a time, get them started on various different stories. That way, when the time comes for a sequel or a spin-off or whatever, I can have that already in the pipeline, ready to go before we even get started.
Right. And there's obviously different stories because, like, Invictus, if memory serves, is supposed to be one big epic tale told in just one trade paperback.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that makes sense, just funding that one story.
Mm.
But at the same time, the individual few issues at a time is kind of nice.
Mm.
Because you can get a little bit, not as long of a wait.
Mm.
But
yeah, it's like
I do see the benefits to both.
Mm.
Well, that's one thing that like I said, there's no concrete, set of steps that you take to get your book funded and to advertise your book. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. And, it really depends on the market that you have. It depends on the market that you can correlate to. It depends on how much advertising you do. And, then it depends on how many customers you can entice to buy your product.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty much why I'm forgiving of creators on their first round of projects.
Yeah.
Because they're all still working out the kinks. It's a different story if they're on their second and their third projects, and we still see the same issues popping up from the first.
Yeah.
So it's like when we get to Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet, I don't want to be, it should be on time.
Right.
Whatever the deadline is. I mean,
right. Even if it has a longer deadline, even if he puts a campaign up and funds it for a year.
Mm.
There's 365 days left to fund this.
And then if it comes out sooner, he could declare himself a miracle worker.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
I promise you guys this book, November 2021. It is June 2021, and I'm shipping it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank me in the comments.
Yeah.
Then he just had people mad at him that they couldn't get it up until November.
Yeah, right.
You're never gonna fully satisfy everybody.
And like with your book, if it takes some time, I'll understand. But if it takes too long, I know how to get in touch with you. I might rattle your cage a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And be like,
Well, that's all.
yeah, come on, bro.
Yeah,
What the hell?
Ayrton's going to show up with a miniature baseball bat and threaten a guy with a magical god hammer. That sounds great.
Exactly.
I'm going to break your kneecaps, and he's just like, I'm going to strike you with lightning.
Listen, the risk was calculated, but I'm horrible at math.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, that seems about right. But, I mean, there are dozens of other crowd funds, and, I mean, even some of the smaller campaigns that only bring in, and I say only, but between $30,000 and $60,000, I mean, those are massive successes on an indie level.
Right.
And the impressive thing is seeing the people who already had their first campaign moving on to the second and seeing the growth there.
Well, growth or drop off even. I mean, let's be fair. Some campaigns do experience drop off on their second run. Some experience growth, but at the same time, I mean, that's normal. Number one issues are always going to be more valuable. There's always going to be more sought after. People are always going to be more interested in trying out a number one than jumping into a number two. That's just comics 101.
Yeah.
But just to think that, and this is kind of where I wanted to get into the talk about the future of comics a little. We can, like I said, we can go back to any of these things and talk about them. But, you know, as a comics veteran, I would say, you're familiar with the idea of the ages of comics, right? Golden Age, Silver Age, Modern Age, Bronze Age. Yeah. Even something they call the Dark Age, where everything was
80s.
Yeah, where everything was deconstructionist.
So is this like the aluminum can age?
I think
like
this is the
chromium age.
Well, I think that this is the indie age, or the second indie age, because kind of getting back to basics, and we're taking, like, we personally, as a community of comics skaters and indie comics promoters and crowdfunded comics promoters and skaters, taking back our hobby. I think we're kind of repeating the ideas that were put in Image Age. And I think we're extrapolating on those ideas because of a different set of circumstances. Image Comics was about creators owning their project. Crowdfunding is about creators owning their projects and creating a caliber of book that's for the fans. It's for the people. These creators are not about telling their people that they're garbage on social media. They shouldn't be.
Almost as it should be.
You know,
what is
these creators are
Jeez.
you know, are expected to be more interested in making money than making a point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the social contract that we have to hold them to, but at the same time, I think that's what this age is going to be if it's successful. And that's just me, because I think with, like we were talking about, did we talk about it on air, or was it off air that we were talking about Sean Murphy coming over?
Yeah, we did. We talked about him. Okay. I remember exactly.
Off air.
Okay, but with creators like Sean Murphy coming over, crowdfunding comics is only going to grow, I think. And more people are going to be introduced to it. More people are going to click on that Explore Comics tab. More people are going to shamelessly buy things that they might not publicly announce they were going to buy, I think. Because I've seen it happen. I've seen people that, you know, they hate buy shit. You know, there are these people out there that will buy some shit just to hate on it, just to destroy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we don't have hate viewers yet, personally.
Yeah, that's I believe SJW Spider-Man bought both Iron Sights and Lone Star.
Yeah.
Just to look for specific panels to take out of context.
Yeah. So, and there's the whole question of digital versus physical, but I think that's a personal preference thing by the creator. Some creators have the idea that if our books get leaked onto pirating websites, it'll actually sell better. Some have the belief that I don't even want to deal with that headache. I agree with both points. If you've got the confidence,
there's something to be said. I mean, there are cases where you've seen some things become popularized by leaking them, but on the other hand, you have creators like Jim Zub, who's seeing massive torrenting of his Champions book, but nobody's buying the book.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, what do you do at that point?
What's the answer to that?
Yeah. So it really is.
Really, that's.
Go ahead.
That's something that's always going to be there. Even if you don't release digital, someone can always scan the pages and upload them somewhere.
And that's fine. But
it's something everybody. You just have to accept that you're going to deal with that. Like any form of creative medium, you're going to deal with some level of piracy, and you just have to accept it.
I think that just the fact that the crowdfunds exist and people still buy more physical copies than digital copies shows that the market is there, and even if people would pirate the book, those people that pirated the book to read it would want to have the physical copy. I think that's something else that's kind of ingrained to pirate or comic creators or comic fans.
Yeah, the whiskey talking. Like I mentioned earlier, I always use a digital download for the Marvel comics because I don't like the ink smearing or whatever. But I could just as easily just buy the digital copy and just stop there. But I like having the actual physical book.
Yeah. There's something about having an actual paper in your hands or on your shelf or something. People talked years ago about digital books replacing physical books, but I don't see that happening.
Well, and I'd be willing to bet that there's a somewhat niche culture out there that's a lot like I am, and that they'll, even if they read something that's pirated, if they like it, to support it, they will still go out and buy a physical copy of it. They'll never even crack open, just to put on their shelf or to loan out to other people that may want to let read it.
Yeah.
If I buy something or if I pirate something and I like it, I will definitely buy it. But there is something to be said for the ability to read something before you start sinking money into it to know whether or not it's worth buying.
Well, and that's
especially with the current industry.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another idea. What about pre-releasing a free digital short, like 10 pages?
A lot, and that can kind of go back to what we were talking about. But a lot of indie creators, and I think you can back me up on this story, a lot of indie creators do release like the first quote unquote chapter of their book during the campaign to about midway to up the hype a little bit.
Yeah, it's Ethan Van Sciver did that for Cyberfog. We got the first 20 pages, fully written, lettered, everything. And I think
Monster MD.
He posted about 60 pages off that book, I believe. I made a number of collages because people kept saying that this book is never going to come out.
17 pages.
17 pages. But these people, they say it's like, oh, it's never going to happen. But I'm like, okay, here are these 3 very large collages. I made about 60 pages. Did he just do this for fun?
Yeah. Is he just trolling?
Elaborate. Yeah, right.
I'm sure that he's happy with the over $750,000 he's made, but I'm pretty sure he wants to make that again on the next book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's absurd thinking to believe that he makes $875 million off of one book. He drew 60 plus pages, and it's all just a laugh. So you can
Yeah, it's all just a scheme and scam.
You're not gonna spend the rest of your life living off that.
No.
Especially when you make another book and make all that again. Because I'm pretty sure, if not Rainbow Brute, more than likely Wrecked Planet will break the 7-figure barrier there.
Think Wrecked Planet will?
Yeah, I'm positive Wrecked Planet is going to make $1 million.
Really?
I mean, people see the success of Cyberfrog.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it being a thing. I just let's go ahead and get this out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and do our Alterna show for the episode. But we've got to talk about Alternaween, the fantastic, just absolutely amazing idea from Peter Simeti, where you can get Alterna comics to give out as trick or treat gifts instead of candy. And I love this. I would love to see the first 10 to 20 pages of a bunch of Comicsgate books involved in the next Alternaween as a way to get kids interested in these crowdfunded books. Because that's something that the industry isn't doing right now, is capturing a new market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I believe in newsprint back in spinner racks and regular locations, because you need a way to bring in a new audience. You can't reach a new audience in a comic book store. They got to go looking for the comic book store. You need a way of having it where it's like where anybody can see it.
This kind of goes into the ideas that we talked about with pre-planning your campaign and all of that good stuff. But 1 second, gotta hit the off switch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there we go. But about the pre-planning campaign stage, and we all know that there are 2 big comic book holidays, and that's Halloween and Free Comic Book Day. Free comic books are given out at both of those things for events for comic book stores, have been for years. I don't know how much longer that'll continue because it's a lost leader in the comic book market, and a lot of people just show up for free comics and don't ever come back to buy a comic. But what if in the next Free Comic Book Day there was a magazine-sized newsprint anthology book, like a 3-page story from 5 or 10 or even 15 indie crowdfunded books that were about to go on sale after Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
We're about to launch maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Free Comic Book Day, so that people knew, and you could advertise that at the end of your little short. People knew that if they liked the little teaser that they got, where they could go to find this book. Is that something that you think might help more people kind of understand that there are different places that you go to get comics?
Oh, now that would be interesting. Yeah. I mean, maybe do something like these DC 100-page giants.
Yeah.
Just give like each person 16 pages. So maybe have like a 16-page Cyberfrog, 16-page Monster.
Well, you're gonna print up enough 100-page newsprint comics to give away on Free Comic Book Day. Are you that loaded?
All right. That's optimistic. Okay.
I mean, we would need somebody to fund this first and foremost. That would be the first thing.
Yeah.
Or we could do it digitally and distribute it free during Free Comic Book Day.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't make it into stores. You would just have to be able to get it to the people via all kind of...
Well, you could release it digitally, but in stores and stuff have like a postcard type flyer with like the download code and like where to go like
maybe
a website to download.
Maybe with cover art printed on the back of it or whatever, so it was like an actual postcard.
Yeah, like an actual postcard with like cool art on the front and on the back has all the information where you can go to download the teaser.
Maybe a variety pack of like 4 different covers that are featured in the book or whatever.
Right.
And then you get one of the 4, or you get all 3 or whatever. That would be interesting. And you just get the QR code and the link or whatever to download the book.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it is cheaper to print. It is cheaper to print postcards than comic books.
Yeah. You can print like 100 postcards for like $16.
Like that.
Or maybe 12. I don't know. Or at least on Vistaprint when I've done it for like events and stuff.
Oh no, we want good printing.
Well,
shots fired.
It's cheap and it gets there quickly.
But yeah, I mean, I think that maybe a free comic book day or a Halloween comic book day or whatever release of something to promote maybe some upcoming or maybe some ongoing campaigns. Something maybe IndieCron should look at, the guys that do that.
Yeah, maybe like a 32-page newsprint, and every creator gets 4-page preview, like a Monster MD 4 pages, Shinobi Sasquatch 4 pages, so on. And like maybe at the bottom of the 4th page, you can find the rest of this comic book at Indiegogo.com, whatever.
Yeah. /whatever. Yeah.
And then the back page is just a list of links and talks about the campaigns or whatever.
Yeah. Or an ad that says, welcome to the Comics Revolution on Indiegogo.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And, make people feel like they're a part of something. I think that's part of the main draw of what Comicsgate is as a whole, is the fact that people feel like they're a part of something. They have access to the creators. Well, they have access to the creators creating their books.
That too.
It's not like these creators are acting like they're better than you and sitting in an ivory tower. They're on the ground with you.
Right.
They're trying to give you some kind of content that you want.
Yeah, and I mean, how many of them have come on here to talk to us on our show?
Right.
I mean,
and we're nobody. Not to crap on us. We love our chat. We're not a big channel.
Right.
We average 20 to 30 views on a video. Our Don Chen interview is getting up to 70. Getting there. But we just we love the medium, and we're doing what we can, and we've had several indie creators come on here, and I want to offer the service of being able to point to a video where you showcased your book and talked about your book, and we're able to explain it to somebody without having to sit in their DMs for 2 hours and explain all the questions you've already answered on a live stream. You can clip it up and redistribute it. You can link to it. You can put it on your own channel. You can re-upload it. I'm not going to strike you. I don't give a shit.
Put the link on your Indiegogo pages.
Yeah.
If you want it, as like a longer pitch to your project.
Right. If you have any questions, check out the live stream where I've addressed them. If that's not answered on there, feel free to message me on Twitter and I'll get back with you. But I feel like it gives people somewhere that they can point and tell people, hey, I've talked about this book at length, where I'm at, this is what I think, But I like that a lot of people are stepping up and trying to do more for the community.
Absolutely.
And I think that this is just the beginning. I don't think that we are anywhere near the end of this. I don't think that this industry is going to go down with a whimper.
Mainstream maybe, but I do think that this whole indie movement, Comicsgate, and what comes alongside, I think that's kind of like the future of the industry. I actually had a thought about that. I mean, we saw like the success of Earthworm Jim, a licensed crowdfunded project, and it makes you wonder with all the talk about AT&T shuttering DC and maybe Disney following suit with Marvel later on, I mean, that's a real possibility, I think.
Right. And nothing stopping.
Does that open the door for somebody to license pre-existing and beloved character and crowdfunding a book for them?
Well, let's talk about this. Not only does it do that, but we've already seen the beginnings of that with Marvel licensing out Spider-Man and Star Wars to IDW on trial basis. I don't know if anybody saw that. What now?
I mean, who could have ever seen the day when Marvel was printing Spider-Man comics would license Spider-Man to somebody else so they could print their own Spider-Man comic?
Well, the thing is they licensed IDW to print a Spider-Man comic and then released it with a Marvel tag and an IDW tag.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I think IDW missed out on the opportunity they had there because IDW is losing money hand over fist. I mean, if I were the head of IDW, I would have brought on David Michelini and Mark Bagley.
Yeah.
You know, I would have gotten some classic Spider-Man writers and artists and brought them on and made that like the top tier Spider-Man book on the market. Not the one made by Marvel, but the one made by IDW. I think they could have made money hand over fist on that, especially since Marvel label.
Well, I don't think that there was a lot of money in it, but I do think that it was more of a trial run to see if the market would bear that idea, because they did it on the two starring franchises that they held, Spider-Man and Star Wars.
Yeah, I think they also got an Avengers.
Probably. I didn't see that one at my store. I'm not even going to lie. I tell my guy not to buy a lot of Marvel and DC stuff if he's not getting requests for it on pull list.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's not guaranteeing you that they want to buy it, you're going to end up shoving it in the back issue. We print up a list.
Money seems to be with a lot of these titles to just order whatever people have on their pull list, maybe one or two more, and then stop there.
Yeah. Because there's no money in it. It's a waste of money. It's so sad to say that because I love the medium as a whole, but it's literally a trash fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, then the only new books from the big two really that I'm buying consistently are the Jonathan Hickman X-Men run.
That's excellent.
Everything else I've been buying has been Image. Mostly actually, and then a couple of others.
I had a couple of Marvel titles I'm reading regularly, but I'm starting to see some decline there too. I mean, Daredevil, Amazing Spider-Man. I feel like both of those titles, they started out good, but not so great lately.
Yeah. For me, I've stepped away from pretty much all Marvel and DC. I will buy digital copies of Jonathan Hickman's Marvel stuff all day long, but there's no way that I would entice my store to buy it just so that I could get a copy of it and, then not sell 10 or 15 copies.
Yeah, my concern with the Hickman run is that so far I'm loving it. So far I think it's been great, but I think you have Marvel management, and what happens when Hickman leaves?
I mean, editorial has been MIA longer than Hickman's been writing the book, so we're good.
Yeah. No, but I mean is
the lack of editorial. What's going to happen when he's done?
Yeah.
When
he's gonna do what he does. He's gonna do what he does. He's gonna put the toys back in the box, and they're gonna pull them out and fuck it up again.
Yeah.
But we'll still have this good story.
Hickman's gone, but now it's time for Mags Visaggio to take over the X franchise.
And that is the day that Mutant died.
I'm sure that day is coming.
But like I said, at this point where people have been so disenfranchised with the idea of buying from Marvel and DC, and they're looking at every other corner to shutter their doors. Here we look at 20 books that made almost $5 million in the last 2 years.
Yeah. That's just top 20. And there's a whole slew of other books that made pretty impressive numbers.
Right. And even at $15,000, I mean, is $15,000 not a decent paycheck after you get 300-400 copies printed?
Mm-hmm. Right. If your cost, what you need was only about $2,500, $5,000, you make $15,000. That's a solid profit.
Yeah. I mean, you split it between a writer, an editor, or a writer, an artist, and a colorist. I mean, you're still looking at a nice paycheck for doing something you love. Like, yeah, you probably still need a job on the side, or you need to do work or whatever. But even at just $15,000, that's a good test run. And then you have the product, and you can, like I said, get 100 of them printed, carry them around from convention to convention, get them distributed through alternative distribution.
Yeah. And then, if people liked what you did, builds good word of mouth. So the next time you put out a book, does even better than the last one.
Right.
I mean, that's the hope. That's the plan. That's the idea. You wanna take whatever success you have and build on that.
I think the turning point that people are going to finally open their eyes is when something that ran through crowdfunding actually gets like a Netflix or a Hulu show. Like we were joking around last night with Gilbert Deltrez and talking about Galactic Rodents of Mayhem following the path of the Turtles and getting a toy deal and a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how awesome would that be?
Oh, I would kill to see a Starblade's cartoon. Right. That comic, I swear, the moment I looked at the art for that, I was there like, this is just like some kind of crazy 80s cartoon with an awesome rock soundtrack on it. I'm telling you.
I haven't backed Jawbreakers either one because I don't have Lost Souls, and if I get God King, I'm going to feel like I want Lost Souls, and then I'm going to have to pay an exorbitant price for it. So I'm going to see if the guy's going to do another campaign where he offers like second printings of both books and hope that I can get them then.
Yeah.
But if, even having not bought and read these two books, I still want a G.I. Joe styled cartoon based on these characters, based on what I know of.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat idea. The Expendables with superpowers.
Yeah, and on a second,
I want to see Stallone as Silkworm.
Yeah. Even on a second note, I want to see these titles cross over like back in the day when Batman and Spider-Man would have an adventure together with Carnage and the Joker. We were joking around again last night with Galactic Rodents of Mayhem meeting up with Bigfoot Bill and or Monsters MD. The doctor from Monster MD has to treat one of the capybaras because no other doctor knows how to work on, rodent anatomy.
Yeah.
But the were-rat that came through.
Seeing some of that.
Yeah, with Monster MD and Shinobi Sasquatch, right?
Uh-huh. And Lone Star and Monster Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it's the Unknown Soldiers from Lone Star, Jawbreakers, and Graveyard Shift.
Okay.
So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that Monster MD Shinobi Sasquatch crossover.
Oh yeah. Well,
absolutely.
And one of these books I can totally see getting a Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime. I mean, we have The Boys. First season just came out, which is not a big two story, and then Lock and Key's supposed to come out in November on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, and that's another.
Let's not forget about Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Boys has been a hit. So was Umbrella Academy. I'm sure Lock and Key's going to do good. I can totally see that momentum rolling over to the indie comics with one of these bigger ones.
Especially when you have it, when you consider that the big two characters are locked up entirely by Disney and AT&T.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like early 2000 when you can go to Marvel and license one of their characters and didn't have to worry
For
about
like
it.
$50.
Yeah.
Well,
Or Sony now owns Spider-Man into perpetuity after Marvel sold them for $200 and a pack of cigars.
Yeah. No,
Swishers.
No, it's a pack of Newports, man.
A pack of
No, it was a pack of Swishers.
Pack of
A pack
cigars.
No, it was a pack of Swishers.
Yeah. So, if Fox hadn't if Fox hadn't sold themselves to Disney, they never would have gotten the X-Men back.
Yeah, if Fox hadn't got bought out because they were bankrupt, now they can't even be conservative news anymore.
It was the idea that Disney, it wasn't even for the X-Men. It was so they can, content for their streaming service.
How long before Tucker Carlson commits suicide by mouse assassination?
Oh God.
I mean, I'm still convinced Disney's trying to just systematically buy the entire world.
The entire entertainment industry, at the very least.
No, the entire world. They're starting with the entertainment industry. Soon they're gonna buy Ford when Ford goes bankrupt, and then Chase National Bank.
I gotta put this up on screen. My wife and I collaborated on a meme today.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna rename the planet Earth to Disney World.
Exactly. That's what they're gonna do.
Well, Hasbro bought the entirety of Death Row Records catalog today.
Really?
And it was announced today. I'm pretty sure it happened earlier, but my wife and I collaborated on a meme for it, and I think that it's appropriate for this conversation. Introducing the new version of Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Shug Potato Head. Get lots of felony charges. Collaboration of Hasbro and Death Row Records. 2 to 6 years old.
This is kind of like the story I heard of Disney wants to reboot Die Hard.
With who? Shia LaBeouf is
Die Hard version.
Shia LaBeouf is Bruce Willis.
Shia LaBeouf.
So that would make John McClane a Disney princess?
Yes.
I have a confession.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
When Disney bought Lucasfilm,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually optimistic.
Oh yeah, everybody was. Because George Lucas got lazy on the prequels.
A bunch of people weren't. And I was like, you're crazy. They're going to make some good Star Wars movies. Here we are.
When Disney bought Star Wars and owned Marvel, but left the comics at Dark Horse to begin with, I was optimistic. Because I thought they were making good business decisions by leaving the comics in the hands of the creators that have been doing well with them for almost a decade. But no, they brought them over to Marvel just to ruin them.
And they killed the extended universe. And one of the things I really was hoping for with the purchase was that they'd release the original trilogy. Easy money, right?
Oh, yeah. Remaster it, throw a little bit of Disney magic to it.
No, I want the unremastered versions before Lucas went and started fucking with them.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I mean, I have them on VHS, but you can only watch those so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to get a VHS to DVD recorder.
And transfer them to DVD.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you take your home videos.
Yeah.
No.
Ayrton still calls in from a rotary phone.
I also still have a record player. And
Ayrton calls into the
vinyls.
Ayrton calls into the show from a can on a string. Sorry. Shut up now.
Huh. I might have to look into getting those. Companies do that with the VHSs?
You can just go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, you just go to like a CVS, like
Would they do it on like copyright, like a
oh,
copyrighted
yeah.
movie though?
That's one thing I was worried about. Yeah, I have no idea.
Huh? I might have to go find out.
No, what you do is you just get a digital download of the unmastered versions for like
Mhm.
$10-15 a piece from Walmart at this time.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing either.
Yeah, they sell them like gift cards now. You can get digital copies of movies, the stocking stuffers.
Oh.
Huh. I didn't know that.
So
Would have been good. Man, technology. It's wild.
Yeah, but the original trilogy, that was like one of my hopes. I was like, Disney's buying it. They're definitely gonna bring this back, and some years later, no, they don't give a shit.
No.
They don't. Yeah,
So
bizarre, but now it's like everything Disney touches lately. It's just like, oh, stop it, just leave it alone.
yeah, fucking
I'm
mouse.
dreading what they're gonna do with aliens.
Well, the mouse wears white gloves because he murders everything he touches.
Yeah,
That's they're OJ gloves. He just had Johnny Cochran as a lawyer, so he's going to get off.
Oh jeez.
Oh, could I not say that?
Bloody
I disavow.
Christ. All your favorite friends.
Basically. Oh, you like this? I'm sorry. Oh, Jim Henson's Muppet? No, those are mine. Oh, Marvel Comics? No, fuck you.
Oh man, I saw the funniest meme. It was actually kind of heartbreaking. It's kind of like I made this meme, except they put two cartoon figures. They put Stan Lee's face on one and Mickey Mouse on the other. And Stan Lee goes, "I made this," and Mickey Mouse says, "You made this?" And then Stan gives it to Mickey. The next panel, it's Mickey just standing there with like this ball. And then the last one is, "I made this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, excuse my language. I got a little bit angry. Especially when you have Kevin Feige calling Disney star Jack Kirby. I realized Disney bought Marvel, but they didn't get into Doc Brown's DeLorean buy Marvel in the past too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that also like discounts the new Genesis and the New Gods and all of Jack Kirby's contributions to DC, like Challengers of the Unknown.
Yeah. It's another one we got to look forward to, the Ava DuVernay and Tom King New Gods movie.
Oh God. Why did you have to tell me about that? I could have been blissfully unaware of it.
I'm sorry. I should have left you your innocent naivete.
Okay.
That'll never happen.
We've got about 17, 18 minutes left. So, is there any other things you guys want to touch on about crowdfunded books before we evolve into complete degeneracy for the last little bit?
Well, for my part, it's just one of the things that I'm into. One of the reasons why I'm buying so many books is not just because the story interests me or because I like the creator. I think there's somebody who's worth backing. I mean, both those things enter into it. Often I'll buy a book, or going back years, if I think highly of the creator, or if the character looks interesting. But another part of this for me is kind of like the idea of helping build this new industry to replace the old one.
Right.
So that's kind of like I want to see this succeed. I want to see like the Mitch Breitweisers, build their new companies. I want to see Ethan Van Skyvers build their all caps. I want to see the Shinobi Sasquatches, the Monster MDs, and the Sovereigns that we wouldn't have seen in the mainstream.
I think the goal for like the American dream of comics has shifted. Now it's not getting published by Marvel Comics. Now I think the American dream of comics is being like a Von Klaus Monster MD sequential like monthly book or bi-monthly book coming out under all caps imprint, distributed from alternate distribution kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's that kind of camaraderie and that kind of networking, and I think it's everyone linking up under that network and understanding that there are more options, that there's a better way where you can actually be paid for what you do and be appreciated by who you sell to.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think, and this is kind of a touchy subject, so I think I'll put it in the lightning round of the last 15 minutes, but I think that there's a market for crowd-funded SJW comics. I think there's a market for crowd-funded far-right politics comics. I think that those people should come over to the same market here. It's not like, you know, as long as you're not violating terms of service, you don't have to use the Comicsgate hashtag.
Yeah.
If you have a market to sell to, there's no reason you shouldn't get paid for your stuff just like anybody else, whether it's Comicsgate, non-political, like pretty much everybody here wants. You know, if you want to make your AOC propaganda comic, sell it directly to the people that want to fucking buy it and find out if there is a market for it.
Absolutely. And do it with your own original characters. I mean, you know, Ignited is god-awful. I made the mistake of reading that first issue, and I mean, let's not even get to start with the idea of teachers just murdering their students because they're racists. I mean, I was actually I'm a teacher.
Real quick, Edwin Boyette in the chat. Aloha, Edwin Boyette.
Aloha, Edwin.
How's it going, man? Thanks for stopping by.
But the idea is that even though Ignite is kind of terrible, it's original characters. You know, it's Mark Waid and Kwanzaa, working on their own characters. Yeah. You know, they're not taking somebody else's creation and mangling it beyond recognition.
Right. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. I don't have to buy it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not something that somebody's holding a gun to my head and telling me to buy. And it's not a Spider-Man book that I'm interested in buying because I love Spider-Man from 1992. You know, and that's one of the things that a lot of people fail to take into consideration. Like, I don't think a lot of people on our side care that they're SJW comics. I think the people on our side care that Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor have all been infested with SJW politics. And people on our side don't want to buy those books. But if somebody out there does, it's a capitalist environment. I want you to have a place to sell them.
Yeah. You know, and honestly, if you were to put me in the place of Marvel editor-in-chief, you know, replace C.B. Cebulski, if I personally don't like them, but if the SJW comic books actually were great sellers, as a capitalist, I'd say, okay, I personally find these books detestable, but if SJW Spider-Man sells 150,000 a month, that's what I'm going to do, because that's what the audience wants.
Right. And, you know, and that kind of goes back into what I was talking about, and I start to sound like a broken record on this. But
well, real quick before you
go ahead,
before you divest, I think if they were to start doing that, though, they're going to see that their books don't do as well, and then they're going to start saying it's racist or sexist or homophobic because nobody, you know, funded their crappy books.
Well, and here's the thing, though. They have nobody. You can go and blame your audience if that's what you want to do. This is America.
Yeah.
You have the freedom of speech. You can go out and say, my book didn't sell because I think the people it was marketed to are racist and sexist. You have the right to say that. However,
and we have the right to give you the finger and
not buy your book.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I want people to have that ability. I want people to have that freedom, and I want people to be able to create what they want to create. I think they should do it. No, I think they should do it. And the reason I want
not doing well.
That's fine, because the reason I want them to do it is I want them to bring their audience over, and I want them to see Invictus. I want them to see Grom. I want them to see Cyber Frog. I want them to see Earthworm Jim. I want them to see that there are comics out there that don't hate them, don't hate us, and make a lot of money. And maybe they'll back those too. I want them to see Monster MD and Shinobi Sasquatch. I want them to see those comics.
Space Force.
Well, yeah, I want them to see that too. But that's just a personal.
That one maybe they wouldn't want to. I liked it. It was fun, but
I did too. I mean, there were times where you couldn't tell whether that was pro or anti-Trump, and it was fantastic.
Hunting on Trump. It was funny though. It was fun.
MAGA.
I agree with part of it. I think their issue is that the audience that they write to doesn't really exist.
Yeah,
and,
it does.
It's tiny. I would say.
Yeah, well, it's a very small audience.
It exists. It exists on Tumblr, and none of those people on Tumblr actually buy the comic book.
Yes. They don't have money, and I think Ethan Van Sciver hits that on the head every time he says it. SJWs don't have the money to support these projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's why it's so important for them to take over these iconic characters, because that's how they get the sales. Not because of people desperately want to read their SJW stories, but because they want to read Spider-Man or Captain America. And it just so happens that they turn the page and Captain America is saying "Hail Hydra." It's like what?
Right. That's not the Captain America I grew up with, or anybody in the 60 years of Captain America's existence.
Right.
So, but.
It would be ideal if, Kwanzaa or Mark. Well, Kwanzaa has. It was terrible, but hey,
if it's sold, I would expect people to buy it and sell it. And that's the thing that I think indie comics have the ability to do. I think that indie comics, it lets you sell to that direct market that may or may not want you. And if you can sell it enough, if you can sell enough copies to fund your book, and you can get it in stores or get it to the audience that wants to buy it, then do that, because I want everybody that bought that book to hit that Explore tab and go down to comics and be able to buy something else that they otherwise weren't going to be exposed to. And I think that that's the only future in comic books that we have to look forward to, because here's the thing. As people that have read Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers, these classic titles, even stuff like Spawn, Savage Dragon, whatever else, Wildcats, X-Force, X-Factor, Justice League, Aquaman, whatever you name. We've read these books for 20, 30 years. And in reading these, we began to expect something. And when that something is subverted, we stop buying the damn book. And you can't sustain a character on swapping the writer out every 3 to 6 issues. You can't sustain a character on 75-issue runs that were completely and utterly broken down by the next person that picked up the book for 10 issues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to do except find good original characters like the Jawbreakers cast, like Dr. Black and Heidi in Monster MD, the Copybearers in Grom, the Eternals in Invictus, the Cyber Frog in Cyber Frog, Earthworm Jim being written by his creator with as much love and care as it had the first time that a video game came out for it. And regardless of where you fall in this comics gate, anti-comics gate, you're like Peter Samedi and you're pro-comics, then you're going to buy good books. You're going to reach for something that's done with the passion and the love that a creator can give a book.
Absolutely. It's the difference between doing it for hire, for a paycheck, and doing it for the paycheck, but also for love. You can tell with a lot of these creators that the character, the title they're working on, there's no enthusiasm, there's no energy behind it. When they take a character apart, they don't care. It doesn't matter to them because they have no personal emotional investment in the character. When Nick Spencer makes a Captain America Nazi, or when Thor is made unworthy and loses his hammer, the creators don't care because they themselves have no investment in a character that somebody else made, somebody else created.
Right.
Yeah. You won't see that with Monster MD because Von Klaus created those characters. He cares about them. I mean, they came from him. They're these characters long before they appeared on the page. They existed in his heart and his mind, and he's always going to care about those characters and will always do the best he can to buy them.
Well, Edwin Boyette in the chat says, I found myself aging out most of the comics that were being made. Most of what being made at Marvel and DC are being made for 16 to 30-year-old audiences, and I think that's correct, and I think that's a problem. There's no comic book out there made by Marvel and DC that presents Spider-Man in the light that I would want to give my 8-year-old son. There's no Wonder Woman comic book out there that would appeal to my 4-year-old daughter if I bought it to read to her. Critter Me Timbers, if you have love and passion, it translates into the art comics. It brings the story alive. And I think that's true for every single crowdfunded book that I've been, either marketed and hyped into backing or been sold on after the campaign went live. I think that you can see the passion but
I was going to say, or sold on by having them on our show.
Right.
However long it's taken, Cyberfrog is a passion project.
Yeah. The same thing with Earthworm Jim. I mean, Doug TenNapel created that character when he was in his 20s. He created that character for a video game. There was some ancillary material, and he gave up rights to that character. He gave up paychecks that he would just get in order to hopefully make some money on making some comic books that he wanted to make for 20-something years. If that's not love of something, then I don't know what is. And you're not going to get that with a Wolverine or a Fantastic Four or a Spider-Man or a Superman or a Batman ever again. Because Siegel and Schuster, Bob Kane, Ditko and Lee and Kirby, they're all gone.
Yeah.
And
especially since we're moving into a generation of creators who they're not necessarily comic book fans. They didn't necessarily grow up fans of these characters. We have a group of creators who...
They almost definitely didn't grow up fans of these characters as they were written by their creators.
The primary source for these characters are the movies.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get these people out there who say, okay, well, I'm going to use my position to make a statement rather than tell a story, and you've already missed the plot. Already missed the point, because in making a statement, you're going to pull a Gillette, and you're going to say, okay, well, my statement is made, and we just lost $8 million.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's not their money.
Yeah.
But... well, that's what the higher-ups are going to see, and that's why I think Marvel and DC are, just like you said, they're going to find a way into Critter in the chat. I 100% believe that independent projects, they actually have a soul. And yeah, that's the long and short of it. I make the argument, and this goes back to what I was saying that makes me sound like a broken record, but I've a long time believed that. And you can attempt to change my mind on this. DM me on Twitter, message me on Twitter, at me, whatever you want to do. But I believe that it's time to retire the idea of an ongoing title for a legacy character. If a character's not being created by its original creator anymore, make the people that are coming to work for you show their bones. Make them create something and market it. And if it doesn't sell, then don't hand them something like Iron Man. Don't hand them Wolverine. Let them do something, do well with it before you hand them something that they can just run away with and you know it'll sell in diamond. Like, that's what's killing the industry. You want to save this industry? Wait until somebody sells 150,000 copies of something of their original creation and then say, hey, you want to write a Captain America book? You want to write a Wolverine book?
Right.
And then if they've made their bones, then they get to write that 12-issue maxi series just put into 2 trades. But you don't have 12 issues coming out monthly from 4 different writers and 4 different artists.
That last Uncanny X-Men run. That was atrocious.
Well, let's talk about the X-Men Colors run, for God's sake. X-Men Gold, blue, red, black.
Red. Soulless tripe.
So, it took them putting the biggest name at Marvel Comics on the book for X-Men to sell again. Because it had fallen that hard, that quickly.
Yeah.
So...
That's why I'm dreading the day that Hickman leaves. I mean, I miss the days when you had Claremont was on X-Men 16 years. He didn't create the characters for the most part. I mean, the ones he was handed, but he grew them, he developed them. They were just as much his characters by the end of it as Stan Lee's characters or Len Wein's characters. Never mind all the ones he created himself.
Arcanus in the chat. I just noticed I'm 2 hours late. Sad face. The DVR is on, bro. Just go ahead and rewind it. We're gonna give everybody in the chat a real quick opportunity to ask any questions or make any final thoughts, and I'm gonna give that to the panel as well. Thor, Ayrton, you guys got anything you want to end up with or to put out there as your final thoughts or whatnot as we give everybody in the chat a chance to up?
I'm gonna shill my YouTube channel because I just uploaded a new video today that I'm gonna put the link to in the chat here in a sec. So go follow me on some stuff. It's Ayrton McCartney everywhere. Link to my new videos in the chat right now.
You know what? I don't think I've done this.
Shilling,
Hold on, real quick before you shill. You're good to shill. You're the guest as the co-host, Ayrton McCartney.
Yeah.
You know what's coming.
Yeah, I do.
You're fired. Collect your things. Don't collect $200. Do not pass go. You're just fired.
Damn it.
Critter Me Timbers, yes, new music. So I guess you're redeemed on that. But what about you, Thor? Go ahead and shill what you have to shill. I won't fire you. I can't. You don't work for me.
So there you go. Throw up the link to my channel. But my hope here is to see this new industry grow, and to see to get to a point where we see these indie projects help each other's success. Where somebody sees like a Cyberfrog, they say, "Hey, I want to read more stuff. Let me look into this Monster MD or this or Shinobi Sasquatch." I mean, that's the one thing that separates this from Image, is that with Image, you had that one brand, that one label. You had Image Comics. And so when you went to the store, you saw your Youngblood comic book. That's where I started there.
Right.
Yeah. Then you're like, okay, I want to see some more Image comics. Not necessarily Liefeld. Let me check out Jim Lee. Let me check out Wildcats. Let me check out Supreme.
Out Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, Spawn. I've still got those early issues. Love them. But yeah, it's kind of like they were all working on their individual independent creations, but they also kind of fed into each other. They built each other up. And so I'm hoping to see more of that, rather than just these all individual efforts.
I think it's the dream of the indie comic to have an ongoing Monster MD or Shinobi Sasquatch or something under the all caps imprint, distributed by Alterna Distribution.
Yeah.
I
would love to see it all under the Alterna label or something like that. Yeah.
Well, competition is good. I want to see. I want to see all caps. I want to see Alterna. I want to see, every major and minor project under the same house. Arcanus, the current generation of direct consumer crowdfund is beyond amazing for me. I've backed Earthworm Jim. I'm going to back Kyle's project, which I believe is Starblades. I want to get into Monster MD and a couple of others too. Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. And that's the thing. You're allowed to buy what you want to buy, and nobody currently, there's been some issues, but nobody in the majority of us indie comics promoters are going, well, you didn't back this project, so we're not cool with you anymore. I don't take shots at people because they didn't back what I backed, and they did back something I didn't. Absolutely. I don't care. Back what you want to back. It's your money. You're not spending my money on it. But
now, if it was like a Bernie Sanders, we're gonna back all of the comics, we're gonna use a government program.
Match me, bro. Match me. Match me.
But yeah,
I need to buy my 4th house.
my wife needs to bankrupt.
My wife is bankrupt, and we've had to mortgage our 2nd home. Our 3rd home is on the brink of being mortgaged as well. For the $3 million that I can get out of it, I need my 4th house before I have to do that. So match me, bro.
I misplaced my bag of gold.
I'm not going there. I don't want to get banned. It's a vow.
What? A bag of gold? I didn't. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Nothing's wrong with a bag of gold. A bag of gold. But anyway, no, I definitely appreciate you coming on, Thor. Everybody in the chat, Critter, Hala, Edwin Boyette, Novel Bro, Danielle was in there for a minute, Ixel Pierce, Elias, everybody for coming by and stopping in. I definitely appreciate everything. Catch the replay. Be sure to hit like. Final thoughts, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm excited to see where this crowdfunding stuff goes. It's gonna be fun to watch it evolve over the next probably 2 years or so.
Well, I think that we should, as a trio, I think that maybe we should commit to doing this 2 to 4 times a year, and just kind of looking at it and looking at the way that things have changed, whether every 3 to 6
follow
months.
the progression.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. The train's going to keep moving, especially like I said, when some of these professional cats come over, like Sean Murphy, or Jonathan Hickman coming over after East of West is done with Image and just doing its own thing. Because let me just put this out there. You give me the creative team of the Secret Wars 2015, Jonathan Hickman and Assad Ryback on one project. I don't care if they charge $1,000 for that book. I will whore myself out on a street corner to back it.
Well, I have spent a lifetime avoiding being a South Florida gigolo, but hey, if that's what it takes, I will shower every rich old lady in town with hot lovin'.
That's right.
Hot Latin lovin'.
That is correct.
To get those books.
I will fake it till I make it, as they say. But seriously,
that's in the Producers where he has to go and schmooze all the old ladies.
Yes, 100%. But again,
Superman returns Lex Luthor with his old lady bride.
Well, Matt Christie finally jumping in.
Awful.
Now Chicka
What
Wow
up, Matt?
Wow. Matt Christie's finally
Great,
here as
Matt.
we're closing up. I did enable the DVR, so if you go ahead and rewind, I don't think it'll close out on you when that is about to happen. Thanks to Matt Christie for coming out as well. Now that I've seen you here. Yeah, Critter Me Timbers, Bow Chicka Wow Wow. No, I think that we've got a lot to look forward to, and I do think that we should do this discussion again in 3 to 6 months if enough things have changed. Just agree to meet back here to have another discussion on the exact topic, because it'll be interesting to see where alternative distribution, perhaps Clint doing some promoted advertising, all caps comics, all of these things, these crowd funds that are due to end and ship. We'll have more to talk about at that time. So
Absolutely, definitely. I'd love to come back and talk about it. See
Same
where
time,
this,
same place.
crowdfunding is going. Same back place, same back channel.
that's copyrighted, so sure. But Thor, stick around for just a minute. We'll say goodbye off the air. But for everyone on the stream right now, thank you so much for stopping by. Like, subscribe, check out Thor's channel, check out Ayrton's channel. Follow us all on Twitter. All that information is down below. And yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.